It was indeed Tahj time, technically three times, out in the 806 as Texas Tech absolutely obliterates the West Virginia Mountaineers by a score of 52-15. In today's recap video, we'll discuss this absolutely historic performance by Tahj Brooks. Give him his flowers as one of the greatest running backs in program history's nay, one of the greatest overall players in Texas Tech program history, and what this win means to Texas Tech and Joey McGuire and his tenure out in the 806. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. And listen, like the video if you're excited about this Texas Tech dominant win over the West Virginia Mountaineers. This line actually closed at -2.5 Texas Tech, but it started earlier in the week at 5. People were betting on the West Virginia side of things, and technically this game was over at halftime. I mean, Texas Tech came out and scored 29 points. Yes, you heard that correctly. 29 points in the second quarter and made West Virginia look like a D3 football team. They were absolutely dominant in all three facets of the game. And honestly, Texas Tech put up a 50-burger, but it probably should have been a 60-burger if it wasn't for the fact that the refs had a terrible initial call on a Mason Tharp one-handed touchdown catch. Don't forget it, because it should have been a touchdown. They just had a piss-poor call to begin with. And then Behren Morton making a bad read on an RPO at the goal line there to Tahj Brooks. But overall, there's not much to nitpick in this game. We'll look at the stats here in just a second, but like the damn video, if you were excited by this dominant, and I mean dominant, Texas Tech victory over the West Virginia Mountaineers for the Red Raiders to conclude their regular season with 8 wins for the first time since 2009. All right, let's jump into the stats here. You can see them on your screen, the Texas Tech stats in this one. Behren Morton was phenomenal outside of really one throw where he tried to kill Jalen Conyers. I'm being hyperbolic a little bit there, but he threw it into triple coverage. Jalen Conyers never had a shot. And outside of that one throw, I thought Behren Morton and Zach Kittley, mostly Zach Kittley, put Behren Morton in a position to succeed, because this offensive line, we've been critical of them all year, but in this game specifically, I thought the Texas Tech offensive line played the most complete game that they had played all year, whether it was on the ground or in pass pro. They were sensational. There were multiple plays where Behren Morton was literally just standing there what felt like for 3 or 4 hours, but nobody was near him. And he was throwing darts all over the field. He was truly amazing in this one. We'll talk about Tahj Brooks a little bit more here in just a second. But Josh Kelly led the way in the receiving department for the Red Raiders with 9 catches, 150 yards on 11 targets. And you notice that 125 mark, he had 125 yards after the catch. Bonafide star, wide receiver 1. Josh Kelly lived up to everything in terms of the expectations that we had for him when Texas Tech landed him in the portal from Washington State last spring. He is the first wide receiver for the Red Raiders to eclipse 1,000 yards since 2018, when Antoine Wesley went for nearly 1,400 yards. You had Coy Aiken with 6 catches after him. You had Caleb Payday Douglas with the TD in this one. And listen, let's transition to the run game here. Tahj Brooks had 23 carries, 188 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, and averaged 8.2 yards per carry. I'm going to get back on the screen here for a second. When I say this, I truly mean it. The only thing stopping Tahj Brooks today was really yard marks. And if you watched his long run for a touchdown in that game, you know what I'm talking about. The only thing that really tripped him up on that run was the 20-yard line. Literally, it looked like he stumbled over the 20-yard line. He kept his balance and went in. I know I've mentioned this on the channel before, and I think right now would even be a better time to bring it up. I probably should have waited till now, but excuse me for repeating myself. I think Texas Tech fans truly need to appreciate what Tahj Brooks has done, and I think a lot of us have, right? But we also need to understand players like him, and probably even more importantly, people like him, don't come around too often. I tweeted this out earlier. You can go follow me on Blue Sky as well as Twitter at RCMB323. That I truly believe Tahj Brooks is a key fundamental building block for this program that we will look back at in 5-6 years when Joey McGuire has this thing running and just rolling, and I truly believe that he will, as one of those key pieces in terms of fundamental belief in what Joey McGuire and this coaching staff and this program were built on. Okay, Tahj Brooks is going to have his name etched into the side of the Jones, much like Caleb Rogers said in a senior video that was posted on the Texas Tech football Twitter account earlier in the week. There's a real argument that he is the greatest running back to ever don the scarlet and black. These past 2 games were just unreal. And the fact that he's not a Doak Walker Award finalist is absolutely asinine. Am I saying that he should win? No, that should go to Austin Janty up at Boise State in the historic season he's having. But to say that Tahj Brooks is not clearly one of the 3 best running backs in college football is asinine. Okay, and he proved it to you the past 2 weeks. I don't want to hear it that it was Oklahoma State. I don't want to hear it that it was West Virginia. Okay, he absolutely was the fundamental building block to this Texas Tech offense and the engine to this entire operation that is on the field for the Red Raiders, regardless of what side of the football you're on, whether that's offense, defense, special teams. It all goes through Tahj Brooks. He's the engine, the heart and soul of this program, and a guy that I truly believe we will look back at and see as a fundamental building block to the success that Joey McGuire will have out in the 806. I truly believe that. And by the way, classy ass move by Joey McGuire to call a timeout in a game that was a blowout, to allow Tahj Brooks to have a moment that he not only deserved, but more importantly earned to have. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Joey McGuire called a timeout and allowed the crowd out there at the Jones in the 806 to give Tahj Brooks a much deserved and earned standing ovation. There's not a guy that represents Red Raider Nation better than Tahj Brooks. And I know that I've been on a spiel talking about him for 3 minutes, but he is a guy that truly embodies everything that we want this program to be. And I think him being around some of these younger core guys that everyone's excited about out there in the 806 will pay huge, and I mean huge, dividends long-term for Joey McGuire and crew in the Red Raider football program. All right. Again, like the video if you haven't already. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. Not quite daily videos anymore. Not going to lie, the 9 to 5 be kicking my ass sometimes, but I love talking ball with you guys. I've got insights. If you want to be involved in really, I'm not even going to front to you guys. Like, this is the most interactive Texas Tech YouTube channel. I'm in the comments probably more than I care to admit, reading what y'all have to say about me, the football program, and I try to interact with y'all. If that's a community you want to be a part of, just follow 3 simple steps. Like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. All right, I'm not done quite yet. There's one thing I want to discuss in terms of what this win means for the Texas Tech football program. And before I get into it, I want to preface this. I'm just like you guys in the sense of I'm frustrated because it feels like Texas Tech left maybe a game, maybe 2 on the table in terms of things could have been drastically different. And who knows, Texas Tech could be playing in Arlington for a Big 12 title if 1 or 2 bounces go their way, respectively, in different spots, right? Like, I'm frustrated just like you are, right? But if I was to realistically tell you that Texas Tech would go 8-4 and get their 3rd straight conference record above 500 in the Joey McGuire era, 4th straight in the program, and they haven't done that since the late 90s, by the way. If I were to tell you that they would go 8-4, realistically, you probably should have taken that. Now, is it frustrating what happened in terms of leaving a game or 2 out there? Yes. But you went 8-4 with a defense that ranked 126th in the country in terms of points per game. I know a lot of people shit on Zach Kittley, me included, when he doesn't do things that I like or when he doesn't perform up to the standard that I think he should. But you got to give him his fucking flowers for what he did this year. The Texas Tech offense carried this team. They were a top 15 scoring team in the country. I don't know what else you wanted them to do. At some point, you have to have the players execute. Did Kittley have some bonehead plays? Yes. Did players not execute at a high level? Yes. And if I were to tell you that Texas Tech still would go 8-4, you should have taken that. This program is clearly, and I mean clearly, on the right path. And this is coming from a guy that is passionate, and this is coming from a guy that I I wear my heart on my sleeve when it comes to the Red Raiders. I am just like you guys in the sense of there are things that just frustrate the hell out of me, right? But Texas Tech is 100% headed in the right direction. 8-4. They have a chance to win 9 games for the first time since 2009. They won 8 games in the regular season for the first time since 2009, since Mike Leach was the head coach. Okay? You had Tuberville, Kingsbury, and Matt Wells. You are on your 4th head coach since that time. Okay? This program's headed in the right direction. Maybe not at the speed you want it to happen at, but don't get it twisted. Joey McGuire is the right guy for this job. Right? I think Zach Kittley has done a solid job. I think Tim DeRuyter, given the injuries, could he have done better? Yes, point in case today, but it is what it is, okay? I think overall this program, my overarching point here on this ramble for the last couple minutes is Texas Tech is headed in the right direction at a pace that maybe you don't like, but it's headed in the right direction, and eventually we'll be talking about expectations where 8 wins should be the minimum, right? Now, obviously, that's what you got this year. Maybe that's as soon as next year, but don't get it twisted. Joey McGuire is 100% the right guy for this job. And if somebody tells you differently, I would advise you to stop listening to them because they don't know ball. It's that simple. Again, Texas Tech absolutely demolishes, destroys, obliterates, whatever you want to put in there in terms of that adjective, the West Virginia Mountaineers. I mean, 52-15. And it really wasn't that close, people. Texas Tech actually had points taken off the board. As I mentioned earlier, the Red Raiders just absolutely dominated from the opening whistle till the final second ran off that clock there on the Double T scoreboard in the south end zone. That's the way you're supposed to end the season. That's the way you're supposed to conduct business on senior day, sending over 20-plus seniors out with the W, including arguably the greatest running back in Texas Tech program history, and Tahj Brooks, who eclipsed 200 total yards in this one in his final game out at the Jones. I'm RC Maxfield reminding you one more time, like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell if you want 100% authentic, and maybe even more importantly, 100% free Texas Tech content all year long, whether it's on the gridiron, on the hardwood. We've got you covered right here on the most subscribed to Texas Tech YouTube channel and the Back to 12 podcast channel.